Welcome to session 10. I shouldn't have this self-assessment. This should be more about themes and interpretation. I want to recognize all of you that were able to join us on time today. Certainly those of you who are late are not going to be talking and interrupting other people learning, so I appreciate that. There were 5 of you who left your Chromebooks out for some reason, so unless you give me a good reason as to why you should be able to use your computer next time, then you won't. This afternoon, since 3 of them were left on the floor and the other 2 were just left on the table. So I don't know what else we could do with that. I want to go over what days are going to look like when it comes to your reading. So you know what's coming. Today will be the actual last day that you are reading in class your book club book. What you may want to do later is get with your book club to understand, maybe taking the book home, finishing it, so that you can do some of the work over the next few days where you do not have school. Thursday will be, you may want to. Thursday will be an assessment. It'll be just much like the pre-assessment. I'll read a story to you, give you some historical context. And we'll do, just like we've been doing, perspective, complex characters, perspective, how little pieces fit to the whole thing, which we haven't done too much of, which is more of our social issues club, but unit, but it is good to kind of see where you are with that. And then the idea of theme. So we talked about theme a while. Today is about theme. So if you want to practice with your book club book over the next few days, that's why I would say maybe you might want to make a plan, so that you're able to do some of that work as a group. So Thursday we'll take that final assessment of the unit, and Friday will be a celebration. I'll talk about more about that. Celebrate your learning on that day, and then next week we start our unit on poetry. So I'm looking forward to the poetry unit. We've tried it a couple times. I think we're going to try it even a little differently. What will happen with the poetry, just in case you're wondering, since I brought it up, some of the time you'll be reading poetry. The other time, you'll have complete free choice when it comes to narrative reading. So you can read whatever book that you want. It can't be informational, but it needs to be literature. Okay? And I'll answer more questions about that later. I won't talk about that right now. Harry Potter count? Harry Potter is, in fact, literature. I said I wasn't going to answer questions. I just did. Okay, so themes, interpretations, hard work. This is a painting by Seurat. Is that right? Oh, I'm butchering this. I'll make sure I know his name by the end. I think it's Seurat. George Seurat. I knew it this morning. Okay, anyway, he was fascinated by pixels, okay, by little dots. This whole painting is made of dots. It is not made by brushstrokes like everyone else before him did brushstrokes. He was fascinated by the idea of dots, and I wonder, like, I'm just connecting this to like history. I wonder if that was when we started figuring out about atoms, because we're made up of little dots as well, if you think about it. Your TV screen you look at, that's made up of little dots. We're made up of little dots. Everything is made up of little dots. And so this painter, all things are matter. All matter has atoms. Atoms are little dots. We're all made of little dots. This painting took him 2 years. 2 years of drafting and redrafting and revising and trying things. It took him 2 years of work to make this one painting. And a lot of times when we talk about writing, like we have this good idea about, oh, I draft and I revise and I learn these strategies and I try new things. And sometimes in reading that falls flat. And so what we're going to talk about today is this idea of drafting and revising our interpretations, specifically around themes. And the way we can do that, and your tip of the day, is that we need to first have an idea as to a theme. And then we also need to have some way to check that idea. So I'm going to be introducing a checklist to you today about things you can do with your theme to see how good of an interpretation you've done, so that if you see it lacking, you can do some revision with your themes. Okay? So we'll move on to the process here. What you want when it comes to a theme is you want that theme, your idea, to connect to the entire story. Okay? You want your idea to connect to the entire story. You want your idea to be grounded within specific details of the story. You want to be using accurate, specific information from what you're reading about to support your idea. And you want to make sure you're paying attention to what did the author choose to do. Author choose to do, and why did the author choose to do it? Connecting those themes to it. So we're going to practice real quick. I'm going to show you a poem. I'm going to read it through you, and I just want you to jot down in a minute or less what your instinct of a theme or interpretation is. It is called, and oh good, I did it right. Things. Okay. It's by Miss Eloise Greenfield. Went to the corner, walked in the store, bought me some candy, ain't got it no more, ain't got it no more. Went to the beach, played on the shore, built me a sandcastle, ain't got it no more, ain't got it no more. Went to the kitchen, laid down on the floor, made me a poem, still got it, still got it. Oh. What do you think this poem is really about? What maybe, possibly, just maybe, might be of this poem? Take a moment, just on your own, write down what your thoughts are at this point. Just take 30 seconds. What's your instinct? What do you think this poem is about? Just jotting right now, jotting our own thoughts.
No.
All right, real quick with your book club, or maybe one person within your book club, so everyone has a chance to share in about 30 seconds. What is your gut instinct? What do you think this poem is about?
I think this point is about some things like really go like in 1 year, totally won't happen. But in 1 year, I will have the memory or playing with my friends, or having like the thing that really matters.
3,
the memory of my pen.
2, 1, and 0. I heard different interpretations and different thoughts. My immediate thought was something to the effect of poetry lasts forever. Like that is what she's wanting to teach us, is that poetry lasts forever. However, this was what I was thinking. And we're just going to use mine for the time being, but still go through the same process with your interpretation. So if we look at this first thing, that the big idea needs to connect to everything, okay? Everything in the story or everything in the poem. Does my interpretation that poetry lasts forever, does that connect to everything, to the whole poem? What do you think? Thumbs up if you think so, thumbs to the side if you're like, I don't think it connects to everything. That poetry lasts forever. I definitely agree with most of you that are doing the kind of, because it connects to the stanza, right, the end, but it doesn't really connect to the idea about candy and the idea about sandcastles. Okay, so I would need to do a job of refining what my idea was. And so if I really wanted to think about it, what connects to the whole story? I might be able to say something like, I still think that idea of poetry lasting. Okay, so maybe it would be something like, candy and sandcastles, or maybe objects like that. They can disappear, but things that you create and things that you create last longer, or something like that. Or poetry lasts longer. So what did I do there? I didn't totally abandon my idea about poetry lasting forever, but I did a better job of connecting all the different pieces of the poem to it. So what I want you to do now is I want you to reflect on your own interpretation. Does yours connect to everything in the poem? And if it doesn't, try in the next 30 seconds, I know we're going quick, next 30 seconds to try and, how could you change it to connect it to the entire poem? Do that work for me now, please.
Do we write it down?
Yeah, write it down. Try and connect your idea to the entire poem, not just parts of it. So you should be doing this work in your learning notebook right now. You should see pens moving. Putting your thoughts down. All right, now we're going to jump ahead to something. And it's this. We're not going to go over necessarily specific details, because we could grab up some specific lines from this poem to help us in our interpretation. What I want to do is kind of go through the choices of the author. Okay, this is Eloise Greenfield. Believe it or not, she's a world famous poet. She understands the English language, and she knows correct grammar. Okay, however, she used this, ain't got it no more. Ain't got it no more is not correct grammar. Correct grammar would be, I don't have it anymore. I don't have it anymore. So she made the choice. She's like, I'm not going to say I don't have it anymore. I'm going to purposely be not correct with my grammar. I'm going to say, ain't got it no more. Why do you think, what might have been her reason to choose to not be correct with her grammar? Why on earth would she, knowing grammar, knowing how to communicate, make that decision to use a more incorrect way of ain't got it no more? Just think about that for a moment, and then I'll have you talk. What might have been her reason? Talk to someone sitting next to you. Why did she make that choice? What might have been?
I don't want to say this one maybe for just to write. For to write and then it's short.
It doesn't really rhyme. Well, I know it doesn't maybe depends because I'm more into the rhyme.
But to rhyme with it, I think it's shorter. And I think the I know. It's not formal at all. Like it doesn't make the in general it's not.
That is great. And maybe you should to tell us
All right, 3, 2, 1, and 0. I was eavesdropping on Alana and Laura. Alana brought up this idea of formality and that it was more informal to say ain't got it no more. And I think that kind of lends itself to the idea of it's a kid. She wants to talk to kids. That's how a kid would say it. And this idea that as a child, and that I would probably add to my interpretation, that maybe it might be more like kids think candy and sandcastles are really important, but maybe she thinks poetry is more important. Maybe that's more what she's trying to say. Is that, yeah, you might think candy's important and you might think having fun on the beach is important, but I'll tell you one thing you're missing, and that's poetry. I don't know. But that certainly is a different idea than I had at the beginning. And so again, what did we do? We had a first idea. You have to have an idea with your theme. Then you have to connect that idea throughout the entirety of the book or the story or the poem, whatever you're looking at. You need to look at specific ideas or details that support that idea. And finally, you need to think about the choices. Why did the author do what they do? And how does that all connect to what your big idea or theme is? Today, I'm going to ask you to do this work with your club. So at the end of the day, I should have one piece of paper from each club with the work that we just did when it comes to theme about one of the books that you've been reading. And that has to have a big idea, connects to everything. You have some specific details, and you talk about some of the choices that the author made. So this is going to be a big focus. This is the focus of your work today, is to really start working together to build this idea that you have about one of your books.
Right now, we just need to.
Or one in the back. Yeah. Any book that you've read together. It's all good. Okay. And even then, you can still try and do a theme at the beginning. You just can't connect it to the whole book yet. But you do read through that lens of that idea. Okay. All right. So that's today. This idea of revising our interpretations, revising our themes, having a process for that. It's going to be very crucial for you as a reader as you go along, always trying to come up with new ideas and really checking this in with them to see if they're correct. And we got enough to do. I will be timing to see how long it takes us to get ready and what our average decibels and our max decibels on, just to add to the chart up there. If you have a specific question that you need from me to be successful for today, then you can stay and ask. If not, then donkey shorts.